Good morning, guys, and a big welcome. And as you can tell, the theme this week is asking for what you want and knowing that you have the right to ask for what you want. So, had a really great question and suggestion come in from Jackie, which was asking around how do you be strong but kind? And I think this is something that all of us encounter because there's no matter where you are in life, how bold or strong or confident you are, and or how wealthy or wherever you're at in life, there's always things that you will feel uncomfortable asking for. So you might be great at asking for money, but you might be terrible at asking for things in your relationship or in your family or for your kids. Or so you can be good in some areas of your life and really got it under control, feeling great, can ask for what I want. But then in other areas of your life, you might find you really struggle at expressing or being able to actually ask and get the results that you want as well. And especially if you've got fears around, and for many of us, especially high performers, I think a lot of high performers have this fear that if they ask for certain things, they'll be perceived as unkind or greedy, or all sorts of emotions like that may come up. So what I wanted to talk about today was about that, asking for what you want, and also saying no to things that you don't want, and being strong enough so that comes across in a way that people respect that and actually listen and understand what you're asking for or saying no to. And also then dealing with the fallout, because what I think also happens is when you do start stepping up and asking for things that you maybe haven't asked for before, the people around you might suddenly go, hey, hang on, you were okay with that before, and suddenly you're not. And it can be quite surprising to them. So you may get some negative reactions, or and tell me if you've ever experienced this before, you may actually get the negative reaction from yourself. So you go out there, you ask for something, or you say no to someone, and it's all okay. And actually they take it, they're fine with it. And, you go, yes, all right. And then later in that night or something, you get hit with the guilt rush of, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done that, and what will they think, and have I hurt their feelings, and all those kind of things. So you've got to be prepared for that as well, that sometimes it's your own brain that actually hamstrings you when you've gone out there and actually taken some bold action and asked for what you want, or said no to someone. So there's two areas of your life where this kind of breaks down to that really affects people most, I think. And firstly, in your personal life, in your relationships with your partner, your family, maybe your mum and dad, sisters and brothers, and with your kids as well. So there's that kind of personal area where you're asking for more personal things. There's a lot more emotion tied up in there. And then there's also the business or job area where you might be asking or saying no, whether that's to your boss or to a client, or in situations, especially in your own business, if you're asking for sales, or you've got someone coming to you, a client coming to you who wants stuff done and is asking you for stuff, and you feel awkward about saying no to them. And so, and same with the boss. And I know we work with a lot of people who are absolutely high performers, incredible people, but they are working way, way too hard because they can't say no. So if their boss says, I want to do this, can you do this? They say yes, and suddenly they're working 60-hour weeks and being paid less than a whole lot of other people in their corporation, purely because they struggle to say no. They're afraid of what might happen if they say no, whether they're perceived as cruel or a non-team player, or all that kind of stuff. So that's really, really important, because that starts revolving around how much you value yourself and your time. And it can be very, very, create a lot of stress in your life if you're not able to say no boldly. So let's have a look. I think today what we'll do is the business side of things, because that's what our original kind of discussion was about. How do we be strong but kind in our business? And So that's first of all, so step number one in that process. So if you're being asked by clients, especially clients who perhaps don't have enough money to pay you what you're worth. So that's always going to happen. You'll come across people who want all the bells and whistles and they want you to help them, and they really, and you can see that they need your help, but they just don't have the money. And being able to say no to those people is really, really important. And I think everybody in business has learnt this lesson. Often it's those people that end up, it's really interesting, the people that you kind of, you think, oh, yes, all right, I'll do that for you. And you say yes where you know you should have said no because they're not going to be able to pay you what you're worth. And it's inevitably those people that become the hardest work clients you have. And they demand more and more and more. And they actually don't often appreciate what you do for them, purely because right back at the beginning, you have set the precedent, I should say, that if you ask me for stuff, I will say yes, and I won't expect value in return. And I think that's really, really important to remember. If you ever are going to say yes to someone that you know isn't going to be able to pay you your value, you are probably bringing on someone who is going to be very, very challenging. And so when you do something like that, let's say you do want to help this person. So there's three options here. So say you've got a client, you know they can't afford what you will deliver, but you really, really want to help them. So option number one is, okay, yes, you might say yes, but what you do, and this is a very important negotiation technique, is you say, okay, yes, I will do that for half price or whatever it is you're going to say. But in order for me to do that, you must deliver me all the goods by this date. Or you so you need to set conditions around what they need to deliver to you in order for you to give them that discount or that extra service or whatever it is. Always expect something in return. And that's going to the heart of the R in Prava. This whole situation is about the R in Prava, which is rights, rules, and responsibilities. And we need to make sure we set rules around what's going to happen if you're going to take on this client. And you have to stick to those rules really solidly. And the thing is, you can be very kind about this. You don't have to be nasty or mean about it. You can say, look, yes, I really want to help you, and I think you can achieve a lot. But in order for me to do that, I'm going to spend time on this, and normally I would not do it for this amount of money. So I need you to be able to deliver me this, this, and this by this date. Otherwise, I can't do that for you. And see how you're setting up right from the get-go that if you don't deliver this to me, then I can't do that. And so it makes it much easier in the future if they don't deliver that to say, okay, well, I'm sorry, you didn't deliver me what I needed, so I can't do that for you. If you want to be serious about this and you want to get results, you're going to have to deliver what I ask you to. And you could give them another chance if you wanted to. But if you don't, you say, look, I'm sorry, I don't have the time to be able to do this. Come back to me when you're able to deliver what you need to be able to deliver. And that's not cruel. That's actually just saying to them, hey, respect my time and respect my value. I'm happy to help you. So you can still help them, but they need to deliver as well. So see, it's about I have the right to set some rules around what I can do for you. And that makes them respect your time and your value as well. Even though they're not paying it in money, they're paying it in effort and time. Now, interestingly, the same applies if a boss asks you to do something. See, in a lot of situations, I think you assume the boss knows best and that they know exactly why. Like, they might come to you and say, hey, I want this done. And you probably assume that they've thought it all through completely and that they want, this has to be delivered. And they might even say, I need this done by this date. And it's funny, it's interesting. We often work with people who come to us and say, oh my God, I need your help right now. And, this is urgent. We have to have a call today. Otherwise, da, 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 da. And they get all wound up and excited. And it's interesting. We've had so many cases where we've actually just sort of left it, delayed it for a couple of hours, or whatever it is, they're desperate for this phone call and you delay it a couple of hours. And within a few hours, they've realized, oh, actually, no, we figured that out. And, and yeah. So the moment passes. So what you have to be very careful of in work as well is keeping to your rights, rules, and responsibilities, and understanding that just because boss comes to you with, here, you need to do this, you are actually allowed to say, okay, well, first of all, why do we need this done? Tell me the context and why this needs to be done and why this needs to be done in this time frame. And also, does it actually need to be me who does it? So rather than just accepting things and saying, oh, yes, okay, righto, ask a few questions first. And that's that you have the right to ask about this project, about this, whatever they're asking you to do. You're allowed to ask, put it in context. And is this actually, tell me the justification for why this needs to be me that does this, or why this actually needs to be done in this time frame. And you might find that they actually haven't thought it through very well. And you can just say, all right, well, when you've got, again, putting in place that rules, when you've got that completely sorted, then, okay, we can talk about how I fit that into my schedule and what else I'm doing. Because that's where also, again, another negotiation where you can say, well, all right, if I'm going to do that, then because my hours are 40 hours a week, that means I'm going to have to drop something else. So what else would you like me to drop in order for me to be able to do this as well? See how we're now, again, delivering that value. Okay, I have a certain set amount of time. Help me manage that time. So what am I, if you ask me to do this, what else do I drop in order for that to happen? So again, finding that way, you can still help. So see how you're asking, you're being helpful, still fixing that problem, but you're doing it in a way that also suits you and makes sure that your value is being respected by whoever it is, client or boss or whoever it is in your life. The other way that you can do it, so you can do that negotiation, you can make sure that valuation is happening. The other way to do it is you can still help them, just not, it might not be you that helps them. So let's say you're building them a website and your minimum value is $3,000. There's no way they're going to spend that. They can't afford it. So we say, all right, well, maybe I'm not your person at the moment. As you grow, I'd be happy to help you when you're ready to take that next step up to this level. But for the moment, here, look, I can point you to some resources or another person who can help you get started, or some learning resources, or you can help them in another way besides you actually diving in and spending hours and hours of your time helping them. You can actually just point them in the direction of the resources that they can actually help themselves. And if you see that they're the kind of person who will help themselves, then they're more likely to be a great client for you later on. And they will remember that kindness that you showed them. Instead of just saying, oh, no, sorry, $3,000 minimum, go away. You've said, okay, well, maybe you're not ready for my service yet, but here's how you can get yourself ready. So go and have a read of that and that and that, and let me know when you're ready to step up to that next level. And you can gain beautiful clients who then also, again, respect your value and also really love that you took that little bit of time, doesn't take a lot of time, to understand what they needed and help point them in the right direction. So that's a couple of ways that you can be strong in these situations, but still kind. And I think it all revolves around those 3 R's, being really clear about what you have the right to. You have the right to ask more questions. You have the right to say no if it's not going to fit into your schedule or your time or your value. You have the right to say yes. So you need to think about how you're operating. And when people challenge those rights and those rules, this is the other thing, being really clear about your boundaries and the rules that you have in place for what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And all of us have those rules. There's levels at which in all areas of our life where we hit a line where we just go, oh no, that is just not on. And for some of us, like those kind of lines are in many different places, and you'll find that in your family and with your boss and with the clients that you work with. Their kind of lines for what's acceptable and what's not will be different to yours, and that's okay. But you need to make sure you're expressing that, okay, this is my line, so you need to respect that line. And if we cross that line, here's the consequences of that. Like, what are we going to do about it if you cross that line? So that's the other thing too. You can talk to people about those consequences, and it doesn't have to be yelling or anger or upset. It can just be, all right, well, if you don't deliver me that stuff, I can't do the work for you. So it can be a very polite and agreeable conversation. And then that final thing that I wanted to cover, that when you do this for the first time, it can get really uncomfortable. Whether that's seeing the response on their face. So you've got to remember, Miggy's going to start triggering your amygdala. If you see on someone's face the expression like this, or anger, or shock, or even sadness, your amygdala is probably going to process that and go, oh, okay, whoopsie, I've just created an emotion in that other person. And for a lot of us, that starts creating a stress response. So you'll feel anxious, you'll feel worried, or you might actually create that response for yourself later on. The person might have been fine about it. They might go, yeah, fine, cool, yeah, got that. And then later on, you might beat yourself up and say, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. And so it might be your own brain creating that. So you've got to be aware that might happen. And that goes to the kind of A of Prava, the acceptance of understanding that the first few times you do this, you may feel that response. And it's a matter of just allowing your body to move through it. It's okay to have that response. What your role right at that moment is to let your body say, okay, just recognize, okay, my amygdala's been triggered. I'm having a stress response. That's perfectly okay. I'm just going to relax my body and say, actually, Miggy, I know you did that, but it's you're misjudging the situation. So I'm going to show you that I'm perfectly relaxed. I'm perfectly okay. I'm perfectly safe. And you do your processes, whatever works for you, to let your body know and your brain know that I'm in a safe place. And for some people, that might be just having a nice calm cup of tea, going for a walk. It might be doing a meditation. I do a meditation and allow myself to just move through all those feelings, let all those hormones and all that stuff just pass by, and then move on. And so that's the skill, is being able to face these challenges, know that there might be some response coming from it, but then facing that response and going, okay, I'm just going to ride it. And every time you do that, your amygdala learns, oh, okay, that actually wasn't something I needed to trigger about. And your hippocampus starts to lay that down in your memories and say, all right, new pattern here, righto, that situation actually isn't as scary as we thought it was. So next time I don't need to do quite so big a reaction. And that's the whole process of Prava, is over time doing these things and understanding what's going on so that you can just ride through them and retrain that brain to say, actually, that's not a scary thing. I'm allowed to do that now, and I can do it with confidence. And so I thank you very, very much for sending that kind of that situation in. And it's really helpful for me to be able to answer those particular situations. And I think, maybe next week what we'll do is the personal. So just comment if that's something you'd like to learn more about. How do you deal with this in your personal? Because there is a lot more emotion, obviously, when you're dealing with a partner or family or mums and dads and sisters and brothers and kids. There's a lot more emotion around when you say no, or when you put down a rule or change a rule. So we could talk about that next week and some of the techniques you can use to move through that process and be able to have your rights, rules, and responsibilities and be strong but kind. So have a great week, guys. Like I said in my post, today's the day. Go and ask for something that you wouldn't normally ask for, and just observe what your body and brain does when you do that. And always think about, okay, well, what are my rights? I have the right. Think that powerful thinking. I have the right to ask for this. What are my rules? So if someone asks me for something, what are my rules around what I deliver and how I deliver it? And then responsibilities. Remember, the one that we always go back to, you're not responsible for other people's thoughts and feelings. They're allowed to get upset. They're allowed to be happy. They're allowed to be all those things. You're not in control of that. So you can be you, and it's completely safe to be you. And other people are allowed to react. Some people won't like it. That's okay. You are not going to ever please everyone, and that's part of it. Accepting that it's okay. Sometimes people will be cross at you. Sometimes people will be absolutely overjoyed and amazed at you. That's the ride of life. All right, guys. So have a wonderful week. Go and ask, and let me know how you go. All right. See ya.